buddy. Oh, the,
What?
what's up?
What's up?
Oh, I'm at the hotel. This background, as everyone can see, is not real. I'm in a hotel in Denver because I just got done with Charged.
Just making sure. I haven't touched this in like a week. As always, chat decided to freeze on me. Give me 2 seconds, folks.
Well, chat. IT never ever agrees with us. That's just how it is. It's
Uh,
never allowed to work.
well, we almost didn't have a show tonight because I wasn't getting any type of internet through this desktop over here. And,
I'm glad you let me know that. I'm 2,000 miles away from you.
well, it would have been a
It,
simple
it,
text.
it's 7 o'clock out here. I could have at least gone to a bar or something.
Oh, well, sorry. Jeez. Sorry, I almost interrupted your drinking time, sir.
You should be. What's up, everybody?
All right, there we go. Now it's going. All right, let's catch up on everybody that's in here. Alice Lane, Queen Vampirus over on YouTube. Twitch is just hopping a little bit too. Scooter2790, how we doing? Zamore. And that's about it for now. We're starting to see people come on in. Welcome, welcome. And what an episode that we just saw tonight, right after Shocktober. A little bit of the fallout of what happened during this past weekend's events. Before we get into everything, let's introduce the panel for tonight. And of course, by just panel, we have
Me.
one dude. Yep, just one dude, 2,000 miles away, wherever the hell he is out in Denver, Colorado. He is the voice of charge from this week and looks like will be for the next few weeks, from what I hear. He is the one and only Coastal Crusader. How's it going, Coastal?
What's going on, man? It's about 7:12 out here on the mountain time, daylight time.
It's
I'm
Mountain
here,
Now time. Mountain Now
mountain now
time.
time.
Thank
We
you.
saw an amazing episode of Charged, and we saw our illustrious RMP champion throw the biggest temper tantrum I have ever seen in my life at the end of the show. And we'll get there.
Oh, we are going to get there. That's a ways away. Um, but before we get into everything, of course, my name's Johnny Deathdrop. I'm pretty sure I didn't announce myself. So I am the host of Dudes and Belts Recharge, and we're going to be going over everything that we just saw on episode 363 of Rocky Mountain Pro Charge. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right down into it. Starting off, we had a interaction between Lola and Preston to kick off tonight's show. Very interesting, and how Preston is almost kind of treating Lola in a way.
Yeah, Johnny, this isn't an isolated incident. We saw Preston on the phone and Lola was trying to get his attention. We saw her contact him, after he helped her win a match. And then she kind of got the voicemail and now he's kind of ignoring her. This isn't just an isolated event. And I can tell you, being there, Lola was in the back looking for Preston and he was nowhere to be found. So I do not know what's going on between Lola and Preston. I don't know if it's a law office transaction or not, but we did not see Lola and Preston together tonight. And we saw what happened in this promo. I don't know what's up with Preston. I don't know why he wouldn't want to be with Lola because they were in the law office together. I'm confused. I don't know what Preston has up his sleeve. He was talking to somebody that obviously wasn't Lola, Johnny.
So my question is, why was Preston out there with Lola a couple weeks ago?
Maybe he was still under retainer. I don't know. But you got to figure lawyers like money. You have to retain a lawyer to get them to come out with you. So either Lola's not paying Preston or Preston is welching out on his obligations. But I have not seen them together since JK Pop in the law office and all that kind of dissolved.
Yeah, and we haven't even seen J.K. Pop since the whole split up happened. So Very curious to see what's going on in the law office going forward.
Ned, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It was an awesome time to do commentary. It's a lot of fun. Dean is a great commentary partner, and I can't wait to keep it going.
Yeah, thank you, Ned, for the $5 super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Well, besides that, we have Derek Stone and Lord Mitchell Taylor, who was not at charge this evening. Obviously, there were some airplane issues, from what we understand. Um, but Lord Mitchell Taylor made it perfectly clear that their intentions are at Chopper City and those tag team championships. Coastal, Derek Stone and Lord Mitchell Taylor at Shocktober was supposed to be Lord Mitchell Taylor. Ended up being Dak Draper's surprise appearance. Again, Shocktober, you never know who's going to show up. They got the win. So Derek Stone is riding very high right now, and he's got all the confidence in the world. Eventually, once him and Lord Mitchell Taylor get back together, I think they might have a legit shot at becoming the number one contenders down the road. What's your opinion on what transpired this evening between Lord Mitchell Taylor and Derek Stone? And can we trust Derek Stone to make sure that he talks to Dean?
Actually, you can. I was around the Bierstadt Lager House when Derek Stone got that call from Lord Mitchell Taylor the day after Shocktober. We were talking, and he said he had a big plan. We now see what that plan is. We all know that Lord Mitchell Taylor wasn't there for Shocktober. Maxine stepped in for the momentary. You got to go check out Shocktober to see the moves that she pulled out there. But as Dak Draper came, Dak Draper, Lord Mitchell Taylor is Dak Draper's sensei, if you will. He trained him in Kansas City, and that is why Dak Draper came out to assist Lord Mitchell Taylor, or assist Derek Stone when Lord Mitchell Taylor wasn't there. So I think that when these two are on the same page, Derek Stone finally has what he wanted. He finally has Lord Mitchell Taylor as a tag team partner. They are on the same page, and Lord Mitchell Taylor seems to think that they are going to win the RMP championship, and he is going to have Derek go talk to Dean. Whether or not that happened, I don't know. Dean is very private with his presidential matters, which is quite understandable. But Derek seemed very focused, Johnny, on talking to just Dean, as instructed by Lord Mitchell Taylor.
Well, that's good to hear. That's for sure. Dean's got a lot of catch up to do, getting back into his role full time as president, as there have been issues over the past couple months that he has avoided. Granted, he was training for his match at Shocktober, which we saw what happened. If, of course, you saw Shocktober this past Thursday, you saw the results of that. And if you haven't seen Shocktober, make sure you go back and watch it. We are going to be doing a review show this Sunday on the entire show. We're going to be doing a 1 hour of the rewind, followed with the review of Shocktober. We will have Lucas Bradwell on with us, as well as possibly El Presidente himself. So he'll get into a little bit
My
of detail.
commentary partner is going to
Your
be here?
commentary partner. Yes, correct. So
I'm not going to lie, Johnny, real quick. It was an honor to fill in for D'Lo Brown on commentary with Danger Dean. Very awesome.
you should be honored.
I am. Very much so, believe me. From one University of Maine graduate to another, D'Lo, I hope I filled your shoes adequately.
All right, we had Queen Vampires, the $2 super chat over on YouTube. Yay, RMP. All right. So we have that to look forward to. Let's talk a little bit about this up-and-coming tag team now that we're on the subject of tag teams, and we're going to be talking a lot more about tag teams in the next couple segments here. Joey Hendricks and Enrique Coastal. At first glance, let's say, what do you think about this young team?
These two guys are very impressive. I got to see them over the weekend while I was out there, and then I got to see them again tonight on Charged. What an amazing duo these guys are. They click well together, and you can tell obviously in their spoken words that there's no lack of confidence. I mean, these two guys think they are the next big thing in tag team wrestling, and they they absolutely try and just punch the biggest guy in the room because as we see coming up, they take on Chopper City. So it is they are calling their shot right here. They're going right after the tag team champions with no lack of confidence. And as I said on commentary, I don't think there's a bigger fan of Joey the Love Gun than Joey Hendricks himself.
And leading up to everything, the tag team match, the first action of tonight's episode, Hendricks and Enrique going up against your reigning tag team champions, Chopper City. Cole, so what'd you think about this match?
You know, for a large majority of this match, and I will say probably it was probably a 10 to 12 minute match for about 6 or 7 minutes. Joey and Enrique had Atiba isolated, and they really were giving Atiba the business. But that's what Atiba does. And I said on commentary, maybe he's a little bit out of the loop, if you will. He might not be used to taking that big of a beating because he hasn't been a singles wrestler for a while. He and Bossy have been running the tag team division, as we have seen. But he's able to withstand the beating that Joey and Enrique put on him. Able to get that hot tag to Boss, and Boss comes in and does what Boss does best, and that's chop and batarang and suplex and everything that Boss does. And we see tonight that these two guys, they had a great game plan. Joey and Enrique had an amazing game plan. Isolate one of them, but they did not have the answer for Boss, and that is what you need in Chopper City because Atiba takes the beating and Boss will give it back to you in bunches. And that's what he does tonight. We see the batarang. We see the Dragon's Landing from the top rope from Atiba. I don't think there's any tag team in RMP that can kick out of that combination. Chopper City, get another win. Johnny, there isn't a tag team in this division right now that can stop Chopper City. I'm sorry.
I don't see it at the moment. I'm going to have to agree with you. We thought that there was a shot with CBD and Dalton that shocked over, and we saw what happened there.
Yeah, CBD ran so hard the peroxide came out of his hair, as
Yeah,
Remy would say.
we'll get to that because that's a very interesting interaction that we saw after this match. But yeah, no, Chopper City is running wild right now, and they are on a roll, and it doesn't look like they're stopping. And you had made mention on commentary or was it Dean? It might have been Dean. That Atiba is working on a new move, from what I hear.
Yes, he apparently is working on the 1,500-pound chop that we've seen. And I'll tell you, if he hits that, when Bruce puts you in that backbreaker and you get that big chop, he's going to chop you straight through the canvas. That's just what Atiba does. He is the Rocky Mountain Dragon. He'll chop you through the canvas.
Yeah, it was a great win for Chopper City just to keep the momentum going. Full steam into the next upcoming live event, which will be No Thanksgiving coming up.
No Thanksgiving. November 2nd, Thursday, Wimmer Arena, Inglewood, Colorado. Be there.
Look at him. He's on his game already down there in Denver.
I'm rolling, baby. Let's go.
All right. Well, after that tag team match, again, we were kind of, throwing the shade out there a little bit. Remy and Dalton were sitting next to each other. And I'm curious about that. Before Chopper City came into the mix and did what Chopper City does. What did you think? And I know that you didn't really see a lot of interaction per se between Remy and Dalton, but there's got to be a reason why they're sitting next to each other. Cole, so what do you think?
So we always knew, and if you go back and watch a couple of those promos that CBD does with Dalton, Dalton was there, but just because CBD was his friend. Well, what do you do if you have a friend that just runs out on you when the going gets tough? Such as CBD did to Dalton. He ran away because Remy was going to whoop the peroxide straight out of his blonde head. And that's exactly what CBD was afraid of. So I think Dalton has figured out, you know what? Yeah, we've been teaming together for, a while in other promotions. And Yeah, I guess CBD is from the same area I'm from, but I think this was the last straw for Dalton. I think he's talking to Remy and to say, hey, you know what? Thought this dude was my boy. He's not. He's kind of a chicken. Um, maybe you deserve to whoop his. Um, and Choppa City is there to just tell Dalton, hey, we respect you, big fella. He hit Final Boss to the point where Final Boss couldn't do championship karaoke.
He had a
That's a
mark.
big thing for
He
Final
had a
Boss.
mark on him.
That's a big thing for Final Boss. I got my Brucey shirt on right here. He is a karaoke all star. And when you make it so the boss can't do his extracurriculars, you're in trouble. But he forgave him. But I think CBD has a beating coming to him, not only from Remy, but maybe from Dalton and Choppa City too, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between Remy and CBD going forward, because we now know officially that Remy D will be going up against CBD at No Thanksgiving. Finally going to get his hands on CBD. Dalton obviously has some unfinished business with CBD as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chopper City wanted to go 5 minutes with CBD in a squared circle, and probably give a little payback for Dalton, because I mean, you got to hand it Dalton. Dalton really stood his own last Thursday by himself and really kind of did what he had to do to at least give himself a shot in that match. And obviously, numbers advantage didn't work in his favor, but you got to give Dalton some respect there.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen last Thursday on Shocktober, Dalton unfortunately had to go up against the tag team champs by himself because CBD ran away like a scared child from Remy D. But Dalton was able to put up quite a fight. I think Dalton, if he gets his head on straight, he has a very, very, I don't want to say easy shot, but he has quite the path in front of him to any title that I think he wants to in Rocky Mountain Pro. The man's a physical specimen, Johnny. The dude makes, I mean, he makes Brucey look tiny, and that's incredible.
He is definitely a specimen, a one of a kind athlete for sure. Um, we'll see what happens with Dalton going forward. I after the performance from last Thursday, I think he's got a bright future. Moving on though, talk about the other side. Remy ended up defeating Brew in that one-on-one match to have the opportunity to face CBD at No Thanksgiving. Um, and then we see Echo and Brew, because again, another shock to Shocktober. Balaam returns and goes, hell, I should say, has an impromptu match with Echo, unannounced. We didn't know about it until it happened in front of us. And Echo and Brew were talking backstage, kind of, reliving Shocktober and what happened. And you can tell Brew is very upset with himself, and Echo's trying to, get him to the point where it's like, hey, don't worry, dog. We got this. We got tag team titles to go get.
I think that Echo was even going over the top with that. I think he was trying to tell Brew that this is all part of the plan because you hear Echo reference Henry Caviezel, who, as we know, starred in Passion of the Christ. He's trying to make himself, a religious figure here. He's trying to tell Brew, I have sacrificed myself for the greater good. I've sacrificed myself for the cause here, and this is all part of the plan. Whether it is or not, we are going to have to see. Because when somebody like Echo, who, as he said, is a past champion, Brew has not been a champion. Brew is trying to get on this. You know, Echo has said things to Brew to get him to follow this trail. And now Brew is just following him because Echo has been a champion. And he's seeming to lead Brew out of this darkness of what Brew seems to be maybe a plateau in his career, or maybe that he's just not getting it done. Whatever Echo is selling, Brew is buying. And we see that here. Even the face paint that Echo has on, he says is a solidarity of Brew. And Brew seems to be like, okay. Johnny, everything Echo is saying right now, Brew is buying into. That's a very scary thought for everybody that's in Brew or Echo's way.
To picture these two teaming up and getting involved in the tag team division, we were talking about how Chopper City was on this roll and that nobody could stop them. Yeah, until they end up meeting Brew and Echo, and I think there's a possibility there. Same thing with Lord Mitchell Taylor and Derek Stone that I mentioned before. If they if they still are coexisting and still getting along, they also have a good gripe at having a good shot at those tag team championships. But I mean, as much as I want to believe that Joppa City is unstoppable in this division right now, Brew and Echo are a very scary duo. And Echo has experience winning those titles as well. And Brew is hungry for his first title. I mean, you saw it when he came back from his medical scare. He was looking at that Ignition title for a long time, trying to get those 5 points when the 5 point system was still in effect. And he's hungry to get that first championship. And I honestly think if Echo and Brew continue what they are doing and he keeps on buying into what Echo is telling him, this is a good shot. I think they might be the team that could possibly dethrone Chopper City.
Johnny, I'm absolutely going to agree with you there. This is a very scary team. And the reason is because Brew has, it seems, 100% faith in Echo. I mean, Echo has been a tag team champion. He's been an Ignition champion, a Twitch champion. Like, everything that Echo has been is what Brew wants. Brew has yet to hold a title. So Echo is telling him all these things, and Brew is like following him because Echo's been there. Who do you follow but someone that's been there? When you climb a mountain, especially Everest or one of those big ones, you get a Sherpa to tell you how to get up there. And that is what Echo is right now for Brew. Um, does that mean Echo is a means to an end for Brew? I don't know. These two guys right now have one thing on their mind, and it's success, because both of them feel they've been robbed of that, Johnny. They both feel they've been robbed of success by numerous people, and they want that trend to end.
And Echo has proven that he's keeping his word and he's staying by Brew. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this shapes up going towards the end of 2023. I mean, if they can put these set of losses behind them, what happened last Thursday, and they can continue the role that they were on before that, and if the Balaam situation can stay at bay, because we don't even know if that's completely over. Let's be honest.
We don't.
So, and it caught Echo by surprise, and who knows if Echo was even ready or not when that happened. But again, we'll get into all that on Sunday when we review Shocktober and the whole match between Echo and Balaam and everything that we're kind of talking about. But moving on here, we did have another matchup to talk about here. Sergey, your Ignition champion, going one-on-one with the returning Charge champion, Briscoe Crown.
I'll tell you what, Johnny. Sergey showed out in this match against the returning Briscoe Crown. I think Sergey is what the fans want to see. He is the underdog. He is somebody you never expect to come out on top, and somehow Sergey has gold around his waist and he wrestles like a champion. The returning Briscoe Crown, I mean, he was amped up even from the beginning. He came out and he just started to take it right to Sergey. This was an incredible back and forth match. I never once thought I'd say that about Sergey wrestling Briscoe Crown. But
He's
this
gotten
match is
so
a lot.
much better over this year.
Oh my God, he really has. You don't even have to hit the muffin button anymore to get Sergey going. Sergey just goes now. He's been able to adapt that just muffin button persona to all the time. And I think tonight it was just the fact that Briscoe was quicker. He had a little bit more adrenaline, and he was able to get the win tonight because it was his first time back. And he was
Sergey
a
made
little bit
one mistake.
fresher. He did. And Sergey's been defending that title, Johnny, week after week after week on Ignition. He may have just been a little bit gassed out of that, but I want to talk about the end of the match because I don't think people realize what Sergey was trying to do here. We hear Sergey after a commercial break say he wants to check in his Ignition title. I think what he's saying is he wants to cash it in, as one Sky Hossman did at one point to take on Remy D. He
Yes,
wants
that is
to
correct.
cash in that Ignition title and take on Briscoe for the Charge title. I think this is a big step for Sergey. I think he's been training for a while, and I think Sergey wants his shot at the Charge title, which I think he deserves if he wants to cash in. I don't think Danger and I understood what Sergey was saying. There's a language barrier there on commentary, but I think going back and looking at it now, I think he wants to not check in that title, but cash in that title, Johnny.
Yes, and I mean he technically, if you want to go by precedent, um, he technically can because of what happened with Sky Hossman earlier on this year when he got his charge title shot against Remy D. So, and I don't know, Sergey, he's very sneaky. He's very surprising. He's surprisingly good, and he's surprisingly, I should say, better than he was, let's just say, 6 months ago.
Absolutely. I think Sergey has improved much more than we all realize, and I think that's his plan. I think that he doesn't want us to realize how good really that Sergey is.
And clearly, he's been working with Chopper City as well.
The chops, the splashes, the suplexes. Sergey is an honorary resident of Chopper City.
Gaten goes, we don't cash in, we redeem.
Okay, so he wants to redeem that Ignition Championship at some point, if that's possible. We'll have to let Danger Dean decide.
Or in
Adrian.
Sergey's terms, check in.
Yeah, check in. He wants to
Check in. He wants to check in.
Yeah, check in the Ignition Championship.
All right. I find this next segment here to be rather interesting, Coastal. And I don't know if this kind of caught your eye a little bit here. Lilith talking with Damon. Have we ever seen that before? First off, and second of
We
all,
haven't.
and you can tell that Lilith is very emotionally distraught over the situation between her and Noelle. Look, let's just call it like it is here. She probably had one of the biggest roller coaster years of her career. Let's be perfectly honest here. Starting at the bottom and peaking up at Milestone with the Lockets Championship and then crashing down again, losing it to Adrian.
Yeah, that's the thing, Johnny. I think this isn't so much Lilith worried about Noelle and what's going on. I think she's way past that. I think she's angry at Noelle. I think she feels she gave up something that she had worked 3+ years for nothing. And let's face it, she stuck up for Noelle and she was focused more on Noelle's well-being and lost that title to Adrian Mascara. And who got a title shot before Lilith did? Noelle did at Shocktober, not Lilith. And I think that was the final straw for Lilith. I think that is what broke the camel's back. I think that she felt she should have got that title shot before Noelle.
And well, you also got to remember that Lilith has also been on the losing end recently, too. So did she actually earn a number one contender spot at that moment?
Johnny, I don't think she cares. I think she feels that her championship was ripped away from her because she was more concerned with the well-being of what she thought was a friend at the time. So whether or not she felt she deserved that number one title shot, I think it was she felt that she deserved it because she stuck up for the underdog at this point. She tried to get Noelle out of that grasp of Salem and the Asylum, and then Noelle just gets a title shot. I think at this point, Lilith is, for lack of a better term, pissed off at what is going on. And I think the next person that runs into Lilith is in for an absolute world of pain and hurt.
Well, what does Damon have in all this?
Johnny, who better to teach you how to take all that aggression and anger and work it into success than Damon Ace? You look at him, uh, a one-time champion, threw that away to get revenge on Balaam. Doesn't take Balaam out, but then wins the NRW championship, arguably you could say a more successful title than he once held, and then had it
I don't
taken away
know
from him.
when he won the charge title, he held on to that title for almost a year.
He did, but let's take a look at the NRW championship that Sim Bodie won off him. Have you ever seen a match like that Carnival Death match?
No, it
I
was the
was
first of
there.
its kind.
I witnessed it. I saw Damon go to lengths to staple Sin Bodie in his manhood. Like, it was incredible. And he didn't come out on top of that. He knows what is lost, but he knows that Lilith is dominant in that division. We have seen it. If these two team up, it could be extremely detrimental for people in the Lockets and still in the regular division. Johnny, I don't know what Damon was there for, but if he's offering moral support, I am worried for the well-being of the Lockets division because if Lilith learns anything from Damon, it's going to be viciousness.
But that could also backfire on her in the long run as well. The last thing you need is for every Lockette to have their minds and their emotions focused on you and what you're doing to them. It's almost kind of the same thing of the Wake. You know what I mean? Everybody in the locker room hated the Wake because the Wake
But how
ran
successful were
roughshod
they,
the
Johnny?
entire time. What's that?
How successful were they?
I'm not saying they weren't successful, but it's going to come a time where Lilith's going to put herself in a position where she's going to burn so many bridges that she's the only one left on that bridge. You know what I
I
mean?
don't think she cares at this point, Johnny. I don't think she cares. She trusted somebody once and it burned her in the biggest way possible. So I don't know if she even cares if she burns bridges at this point.
Now, it's up to her. We're going to have to watch and see. And we're going to have to watch
Yeah.
and see how Damon's involvement really kind of gets into Lilith's head. It doesn't look like anything's too rough right now from what we saw. It just looks like she's kind of analyzing and kind of taking a step back and might have to rethink what she's going to do or how she's going to um, go about moving forward into the rest of this year, going into 2024. Because there's a lot of big things happening in the next couple months, and flipping the calendar over to 2024, starting off with Aces Wild, which we know that's a huge pay-per-view for many reasons. So,
That's up Shocktober. I mean, it sets up milestone. I'm sorry.
no, it's never broken after that.
Right, but if you win Aces Wild, do you not receive a title shot at Shocktober at milestone?
Never broken. You get a title shot, never broken. And then Peak of the Pack, that is. Yeah.
That's what it is. Speaking of pack. Okay, I'm sorry. I got confused.
No, it's all right.
Time zones, man. Time
There's
zones.
there's a lot of shows that go on through the course of the year for Rocky Mountain Pro. It
So
does
many.
get
And you can
confusing
see,
at times.
and Johnny, you can see every one of them for the $9.99 tier 2 subscription on YouTube. So make sure
Yes,
you
you can go
subscribe.
look back on all
That
the
tier
Aces
2.
Wild, Never Brokens, and Peak of the Packs from the past with that tier 2 membership of $9.99, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about. Those shows are huge going into Milestone. And of course, you can see every milestone from the past as well with that same membership at tier 2 for $9.99. All right. Where were we? Okay. Speaking of Noelle, I mean, we just talked a good chunk about Noelle and the relationship she had with Lilith. How about this new relationship with Sin and Happy?
Yeah, this is an interesting partnership. We saw it at Shocktober. Make sure you check that out. That Noel was kind of greeted by Happy and brought into the fold. And we see here that Sin's kind of rallying the troops. Sin, your new NRW champion. Um, kind of, I think he's trying to get Happy and Noel to that next level. And as odd as it seems, Johnny, I think that's going to work because they seem to be very much following word for word whatever Sin said.
You think so? I mean, first off, it's good to see Happy again. It's been a while since we've seen
Absolutely.
Happy.
And we all know my feelings on clowns. The only
Oh,
clown
it's
I like
well
is
noted.
Happy, and I was very happy to see Mr. Happy at Shocktober.
Yep. So it's good to see Happy back. Um, and man, after the big victory from Sin over Damon Ace for that NRW championship, and that ending too was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Again, we'll talk about everything that happened at Shocktober more extensively um, when Sunday rolls around. But if you want to go back and look, you saw a fantastic ending and a good tribute to Bray Wyatt at the end of that match. Um, but if this whole thing works between Noel, Happy, and Sin, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of alliances that are kind of semi, either talking or being formed as we're ending off 2023. Where would you stack Sin, Noel, and Happy compared to the rest of the roster right now? If this whole collective group here ends up really working out, because I mean, there's a lot of different variables. Not so much Sin and Happy, because I mean, they're both killer clowns in a way. You know what I mean? But
Well, yeah.
but Noel, that extra little um, added element into this little faction or group or whatever you want to call it. I don't think they have a name yet. Um, do you think Noel is really going to benefit from Sin and Happy in the future? Is this going to just escalate her even more? Because we saw what happened with Noel's beginning, and then she got herself intertwined with the Asylum, which is how the whole Lilith and Noel thing started. And then she got better as she creepily kind of intertwined with the Asylum, and now we find her as a loose cannon with a group with Sin, Bodhi, and Happy.
Johnny, I gotta think this is a win-win-win for everybody. You look at Sin Bodhi, the pedigree speaks for itself. Former WWE superstar. He now is the NRW champion. He knows how to win wherever he goes. He's going to teach Happy and Noel how to win. That Lockettes division, Adrian Mascara needs to be very careful because not only is Lilith on her heels now, but now you have Noel charged with a veteran like Sin Bodhi leading her. It is going to be very hard to beat, especially if Sin and Happy come out, Noel in a match because you never know what's going to happen. On the other hand, you have Happy. There are other titles he can go after. He could go after that Ignition Championship that Sergey has. We saw them have a match at Shocktober in the pre-show that Happy very well could have won, except that, well, let's face it, um, Sergey weighs a ton, and he doesn't know how he moves when he weighs that much. Sergey basically laid on top of Happy and got a win because Happy couldn't kick out. I really think that Sin's going to help everybody all around with this. This is going to be a very successful partnership for everybody included, Johnny.
Again, this is a sit and wait game to see where this group goes forward. But we know Sin Bodhi is rocking and rolling with that NRW championship. We'll find out his future going into No Thanksgiving, and who will. No, actually, I'm trying to think. No, I don't think the NRW's defended on No Thanksgiving.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
don't know. We don't have
100%
the card
sure.
yet.
Um, at the same time, with Sin being on the roll that he's on, Happy just getting back into the RMP scene. Really actually looked good against Sergey. It just took one move unexpectedly to finish Happy off in the pre-show. And Noelle put up a good fight against Adrian too. I mean, she's not slouching in there with the Lockett's champion. I think that there are going to be more championship opportunities for Noel going forward, and I think we're only going to see Noel get better as the months and years go. And it's a pretty exciting group. I'm curious to see how these three mingle as we end 2023. But we got to talk about the dance off and the unfortunate beating that we saw between Cushman and your Rocky Mountain Pro champion Curtis Cole to wrap up episode
Curtis Cole sucks.
363 of Rocky Mountain Pro Charge.
Yeah, Curtis Cole is an awful human being. I don't know if there are any things that I can say on this that are appropriate to describe Curtis Cole. When he dances in the front row, I really wish they would hand out the complimentary Curtis Cole barf bags that we have, because when he shakes his hips, every woman in the front row wants to vomit. He takes advantage of Cushman here. All he's trying to do is show that he is a far superior dancer than Curtis Cole. And Curtis just simply puts him in a chicken wing and tries to rip his arm off. And then proceeds to try and talk when, as we see, nobody wants to hear Curtis Cole speak. It makes me nauseous to think about the sound of his voice, and the Beerstock crowd agreed. He's yelling at Dak Draper. If you don't know why, you need to check out Shocktober on our feed, because Dak Draper plays an integral role in the outcome of that championship match at Shocktober. And if Dak Draper wants to beat up Curtis Cole, I am all for it. And if Curtis Cole wants to call him out to get beat up, please, by all means, Dak, beat the hell out of this guy, because Curtis Cole is a terrible human being, Johnny. He really is. Nuns hate Curtis Cole.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel?
I am pretty sure if Curtis Cole went into a church, he would burst into flames. He's that terrible of a person.
Wow. And we just saw him on the rewind a few years ago when he
That was
wasn't like
different.
that.
That guy was different. That was a actual human being. Curtis Cole is a piece of excrement.
Oof. And you can tell by the response to the RMP faithful that were at Beer Star tonight. They weren't all too pleased with Curtis Cole and didn't want to hear anything that Curtis Cole had to say. You can tell Curtis Cole has something on his mind. You can tell that it was about Shocktober, and you can tell that there is unsettled business between these two. They've actually been talking about it for weeks leading up to this main event match at Shocktober, and it seemed to have culminated on last Thursday during the main event. And eventually, we're going to have to hear what Curtis Cole has to say about Dak Draper. Whether Dax will beat him to the punch beforehand or not, we'll have to wait and see. But there is definitely a lot of unsettled business between these two. And these two have a lot of history with each other going back in the early RMP days, which we will eventually cover on the Rocky Mountain Rewind that airs every Sunday on the YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch channel, where we go back in time to the beginnings of Rocky Mountain Pro, before it was Rocky Mountain Pro in the NRW days, and really the very beginning back in 2010. So, I'm actually, I think everybody right now is anticipating Dak Draper to hopefully at some point kick the holy hell out of Curtis Cole, and
We can only hope so, Johnny. We can only hope so.
and eventually end the reign of Curtis Cole's Rocky Mountain Pro Championship. So, not really the best guy to represent your company right now.
He is the champion, Johnny. We can't do anything about it until someone takes that gold off him. So we can only hope that Dak Draper has that in mind.
Well, let's just hope that he keeps his actions to a minimum before that happens. Because eventually people are going to start, throwing stuff at Curtis Cole, and Curtis Cole is going to retaliate, and then there'll be fines, and then Dean's going to have to deal with that mess. And
I can tell you this right now, Johnny. It was so hard in the back, wondering if they were going to be in the same room at the same time. The security in the back was instructed to keep Curtis and Dak, if he shows up, away from each other. And it's going to be like that until they finally meet, because these two, if they see each other, they're going to fight. It's on sight at this point for Dak Draper for some reason. We don't know why yet, but as we saw at Shocktober, he's going to beat up Curtis whenever he sees it.
well, I'm sure a lot of us can only hope that happens. Um, but that actually wraps up this episode of Charge. Final thoughts, Coastal, on tonight's episode.
It was an incredible episode. I was so happy to call it. Props to Dean for helping me through my first ever episode of Charged that I got to call. It was amazing. The Rocky Mountain Pro landscape change is by the week, so you can't miss any of the upcoming episodes of Charged. We don't know what's going to happen, what's going on with Curtis, that giant piece of human excrement that he is. And we just got to keep. I mean, is Sergey going to cash in his title, or
Redeem.
is he redeem?
Redeem.
Is he going to redeem that title? I mean, you never know what's going on. So you can't miss an ignition, a charge. Hell, you can't even miss the rewind with us because you want to know where it all comes from.
Yes, and we will be having Lucas Bradwell, and from what I heard from little rumblings, we will possibly have El Presidente back on with us this Sunday for another episode of the Rewind and the review of Shocktober that's coming up.
He is the better half of the best looking commentary team on RFP.
All right.
How it is.
I do believe schedule is back. I don't think we'll be missing any shows in the near future. I don't think we have to worry about that as of right now, except for when no Thanksgiving happens. But that's been a thing ever since the events have been on Thursdays. Do we have anything coming up? We're not ready for Peak Award stuff yet. That's still another month away before we can stop pushing that. I think that's it on our end. It's actually a pretty slow week for us. Actually, let me go check the schedule. Coastal, why don't you, while I'm double checking schedules and all that stuff, why don't you let the people know how your first experience was doing a lot of the stuff that you did over the course of the weekend?
Oh, we had an amazing time over the weekend. I got to do some commentary at Romero's and at Snowpack, which are awesome house shows. Anytime RMP is in the area, you want to go see it because you just never know what you're going to see. We saw an amazing match between Bruce Wayans and Curtis Cole at Snowpack. Along with it, Romero's, we got to see Brew versus Sin Bodhi, which you can see on our Twitch channel, RMP on Twitch. You can check out that whole Romero's show. It was a great time, and it's just amazing Rocky Mountain Pro action. You got to tune in every Tuesday night to see Charged because you never, ever know what you're going to see leading up to No Thanksgiving on November 2nd from the Wimmer.
All right, and it looks like Rocky Mountain Pro is off this weekend, and it looks like they'll be off the following weekend. No, I'm sorry, they won't. They will have a Summit Tacos at the end of the month, but that's not for another week or two. So this week is going to be pretty light. Rocky Mountain Pro is going to take a break because, I mean, they had one hell of a weekend. I think they wrestled, 4 days in a row?
Yeah, we had Shocktober. We had events at Beer Stop. We had an event at Romero's. We had an event at Snowpack. It was amazing. And it's great to be out here again. Every time I come to RMP, it is just the greatest family you could ever ask for. So, I mean, minus Curtis, because Curtis is a human piece of crap.
Coastal bumped up merch sales at Snowpack this month versus the previous month there.
I tried.
Is that so? Is that so?
That is true. I made sure to announce a whole bunch of the deals that Mr. Fourth Row was running. He has great deals. Check him out. Check out the merch store. He can ship you stuff, even if you order it online. Get in touch with Mr. Fourth Row. He'll get you some good gear. Referee Marky has pins. Maki Pins has gear. He has merch. You gotta check it out. Cool little coaster to put on your beer can. You gotta check it out.
All right. Well, other than that, folks, that is all I have, and that is going to be all for the Dudes and Belts Recharge Post Show. However, I will leave you with this. I have been yet struggling, mind you, but I have been working on a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, Dudes and Belts related. I don't have a due date or a set time for when we're going to make the announcement, but the announcement is going to be technically huge for us because we haven't done anything like this in a couple years. So we got some stuff in the works for you guys. Hopefully, it will be done before the holidays. That's a little teaser for you. And we'll let you know when that gets rolled out. We'll probably announce it on Recharge or Reignited. Actually, you know what? We might actually do it on the Sunday show.
You got to tune into all of them. You never know.
Well, yeah. Well, I say that because Sunday is the only day that I have both you guys here with me, so it makes sense.
It is the season of bowling pins and missing dudes.
Yes, and it'll be like that for months to come.
Till May. Sorry.
But other than that, folks, that's going to wrap everything up tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you guys as always. Coastal, have a safe trip home tonight or tomorrow.
Tonight, my flight leaves in 2 hours, so I'm on my way to the airport.
All right. So safe flight. Make sure you tell the wife I said hi. And
I will.
We will see you guys on Thursday for another episode of Dudes and Belts Reignited. As always, folks, stay safe, stay classy. We'll see you on the next one.